Thank you to the organizers for this wonderful event, and the sponsors for having us all here. My first time in Korea, and I'm very happy to be here with all of you. So I apologize to the academic participants because you've already heard this talk at another conference, I'm sure. But when they organized this event, they wanted to have some talks on climate risk, so they invited me to give this talk. So I hope at least some people here haven't heard it before. This is joint work also with a bunch of people. Let's see. So there's a team in Madrid where I'm based right now, at least for a few months of the year. So there's a team at Complutense University, it's the largest university in Madrid, and a PhD student, Nan, who just finished and is a postdoc now at China Ray in China. Whoops. I'm having the same trouble as you. Then I'm a member of this research chair in France, Cher Dialogue, who's sponsored by the largest life insurer in France, CNP Assurance. And they have, Anani Olympio was their research director at the company and led this project. He's back now to another department in prospective risks for the company. And another member of the chair that worked on this project was Xavier Millot, who used to be at Lyon, University of Lyon, but is now in Aix-Marseille. Let's see. That was part of the project that happened in Italy. So this is work with a group at Sapienza, University of Sapienza in Rome, Barbara Rogo and her student Stefano De Martis. And finally, talking at a conference like this, I met Cem, who was a PhD student in Ankara, and I knew his supervisor for a long time. She's the organizer of the next EAJ conference, European Actuarial Journal. And they were working on something very similar, so we ended up working together. Okay, so I sent 61 slides covering all these topics. Obviously, in 20 minutes, or even if I take 25 like Sheha, there won't be time to cover all the 61 slides. But I thought I'd send it in so that those of you that are interested on the topic, you can read more at ease at home. I'd like to start with this slide. So this is from a report of Swiss Re, quite recent one. And in dark, you have the losses, this is global, all the world, losses due to earthquakes. So when I was an actuarial student, earthquakes were the typical example of low frequency, high severity. So, well, yeah, there's some high severity some years, but compared to the green bars, they don't look like very high. What are the green bars? They're weather-related events. They seem to be both high frequency and high severity globally. I don't know in Korea, maybe this is not true. I've been told that here climate or natural catastrophes are not so challenging as in other countries yet, but this is a global phenomenon, so eventually you'll be hit. You can see the progress. In fact, the 2025 value is estimated on that trend line. Now it has been observed, and I checked back, and it's over what they had estimated. So these are billions of US dollars globally. But this is a slide that really speaks to me, and I think I got involved in this because of this. So again, this is global losses. In dark, it's the insured losses. And in green, the uninsured losses. So you can see the trend again. It's not getting better. And we seem to be, as a sector, talking about the insurance sector, doing a worse job. The protection gap is increasing. So a lot of people are exposed. And this is not going to stop tomorrow. So if you're a millionaire and you see your house burned in a wildfire in California, maybe you can survive that. But if your house is all your life savings and it burns, and this is happening more and more often, and that's a problem that I think the sector should address, right? So, okay, so what's the industry outlook on? So yes, it's a systemic risk, and it's an emerging risk, like cyber risk is an emerging risk, or AI risk is an emerging risk, and it's a quite different emerging risk. In a way, it doesn't respect many of the founding principles of insurance, and I think Arthur has written about this, and many other authors, because it's very difficult to diversify this risk. If it's a global phenomenon, how do you geographically diversify? How do you pool risk? So all the typical tools and principles on which insurance rests don't necessarily apply directly with climate risk. When I present this, I've seen an array of outlooks from very pessimistic to very optimistic. So I'll start with the very optimistic. Some people see this in the sector as a new opportunity, so this is a new risk, so we can design new products, we have to be creative, it has to be innovative, but it's a new opportunity for the sector, right? And I give some references of people that defend that opinion. On the very pessimistic side, well, you know about the US insurers that have strategically gone out of the business in at least fires in California, the floods in Florida. So that goes back to the previous slide where the protection gap is increasing. Okay, so that's on the theoretical side. In terms of dollars, so what's the impact that this can have for insurance companies? So why should they be involved? Again, this comes from an older Swiss Re report, but they estimated that the cost due to this climate change risk would increase losses by 30 to 63% by 2040. So again, 15 years range. Still better than climatologists that go to 2,100, or pension people that also go to 2,100. But I won't be there to see it, so 2040 is a good horizon for me. And that's quite a wide range of estimate. The same report says it's much worse for countries that are further exposed than the average. This is global. And among those here you have China. Apparently in Europe, France, and the UK are really exposed. Their companies are very exposed, and in Germany to this kind of claims. In any case, whatever your position is on the debate, I think it's important for actuaries to get involved and to bring solutions from an actuarial perspective. I go to climatology conferences now, and they're very happy to see people that can monetize this. They're very good at the sort of physical risk projections, at these climate models, the physics and all that, but there's the monetary aspect, right? So I think actuaries can contribute, are contributing to the debate, and they should. So how do you measure this risk if the sector is to insure it? There's, again, quite a number of ways to do it. I'll only talk about one, in part because I don't have time to do more, but there's a whole array of indexes and measures, risk measures, available to you. NOAA in particular has a very long list. Many of those are used for some specific perils or by financial markets to define derivative products, for example. There's the Actuarial Climate Index that at least the actuarial audience here will know about because it was developed by actuarial societies in North America. But there are other climate risk measures, and I give just one reference to one paper where they adapt a bit like the talk before, they adapt an expected shortfall to this climate risk. Okay, so the Actuaries Climate Index, I hope everyone here knows about it already. If you don't, you'll find in the slides a very short introduction. The way I like to present it is, it's a proxy, as Shihei would say, for what's happening in a complex phenomenon, which is the environment. Climate is very complex to model, so it's a simple proxy. It's not the first time in economic analysis that people do that. The Consumer Price Index is a good example of that. Consumer Price Index is simply a basket of goods and services that you buy, let's say, every month, and you just see the escalation in the price of that standard basket. The way you calculate or what you put in your basket is not as important as how it evolves over time. That's really where the information is. Well, it's the same thing with the actual climate index. You will see this is a non-technical talk. It's very simple, the way they calculate it. But what's important is how the value changes over time. So it's defined so that an increase in the index points to an increase in the frequency and severity of extreme events that could generate related claims for insurers. Okay, so if you visited the webpage of the North American Actuarial Societies that have developed the climate index, that has a dedicated page, this is what they have as an example. This is an old picture. The vertical bars are the value of the index every season, every 3 months. They calculate every month, but they report it every 3 months. Now, how do they do it? They look at anomalies. This comes from climatology, the IPCC reports. An anomaly is the temperature today compared to what it should be. How do they know what it should be? So they use a reference period. They calculate the mean and the standard deviation of the variable over the reference period, and any future value they compare to that. How? They do like professors do. They calculate z-scores. They take the value, they remove the mean, and they divide by the standard deviation. That allows them to combine values that are for different things. Some are frequency-based, like numbers of days without rain. Some are severity-based, so for example, number of millimeters of rain. So they can combine values that are not on the same scale because they remove the scales, right? Okay, so here they used a reference period from 1961 to 1990, so roughly 30 years, and they continue to calculate it afterwards every 3 months. They standardized the index so that it will have a zero average over the reference period. So you can see some vertical bars above zero, some vertical bars below zero. The black line is the 5-year long-term, sort of 5-year average, long-term tendency, and the moving average. What do we see? After the reference period, the index started to be above average almost systematically every year. And the increase, the trend in the value, seems to be strong and sustained. This is Canada and the US combined. Here it stops in 2016. We will see more across the world. I've included a short history of the indexes so far. So this was the first one to be reported. It was the result of a joint task force of the Canadian Institute of Actuaries, Society of Actuaries, Casualty Actuarial Society, so all the North American actuarial professional organizations. Their first goal was to develop a pedagogical tool to raise awareness among actuaries of the problem, develop a simple analytical tool that could quantify this risk and see how it progresses. There are no projections here. It's all based on observed data, past data. In North America, they use weather stations. So it's a big continent. They are sparse, but they have it at a very high frequency in time, daily data, but sparse geographically, okay? This is the same index that we recalculated and updated to now and put in red when it's above average. So you can see there's a strong, like I said, sustained trend, right? Okay, since then, the idea has been replicated in many places, in part to see if the methodology is adaptable to other realities, in Europe in particular. So some indexes have been calculated. In the UK, they were one of the first ones. Curie published a paper in the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, where he said essentially, if the data were available like it is for a long time in North America, then the methodology would be applicable. But he didn't actually calculate the UK index. It has been now. It hasn't been published yet, but it has been now. Australia were working at the same time. The two work groups or task forces, they talked to each other. So roughly at the same time, they also published on their website. This is Australia, different reference period, starts in 81. Same methodology, but not the same variables. They only use 4 out of the 6 that were used in North America. But look at the trend. Different continent, different reference period, different variables. But the tool is saying essentially the same thing. It's not getting better. So after that, something similar was done in Turkey. Unfortunately, it was only done for data for the province of the capital city, Ankara. It's an interior region, no sea level variable that was used. So I'm not going to report it because it's not comparable. Then I came to Spain during the COVID, and I talked about the index to the Institute of Actuaries in Spain. They had a task force, but they hadn't calculated anything yet because they were waiting for the data. So with those colleagues you saw pictures of, we actually got a database from Copernicus, the ERA Land 5. It's what we call reanalysis data. So it has been continued geographically. Instead of having sparse stations, which they had, to fill in the gaps because climate risk is heterogeneous geographically, they use imputation methods, classical imputation methods, interpolations, and both in space and in time when there's data that's missing, to have a very high resolution grid of information. 0.1 degrees of latitude by 0.1 degrees of longitude. The longitude and latitude of Spain, that's about 11 kilometers by 11 kilometers, you get a data point. And this is what we got. So this is the Iberian index. It's Portugal and Spain together, because otherwise you miss the west coast, the Atlantic coast of the peninsula. So to have sort of continuum of sea level variables, we calculated for both countries. Same reference period, same methodology, different kind of data, completely different continent. If you're interested, Nan, the student, he published an R package and the R values updated to 2024. So you can, if you get will they get the electronic version of the slides? I don't know, Kwon-Ming. But if they do, you can just click on the links. The paper was published. We submitted it to the journal. The Institute of Actuaries in Spain has a journal, a research journal. And since we sort of calculated before them, so they didn't get mad, we submitted it there and they published it. So in France, I told you about so I talked about this in France and we did the same thing. And that's the value in France. So maybe in Korea it's not the same. But like I was telling Kwon-Ming, I think it'd be the first country where I see that it's not the same. So far, everywhere we've checked, we see a global phenomenon, at least with this methodology. The advantage of high-resolution data, and I hope you have it for Korea, is that you can do analysis per variable. Like this is just the high temperatures. T90 means the 90th percentile, so the extreme high temperatures like we're experiencing now in Europe. You can do it by season only. You can do it by specific sub-region if you want. You can see the summers are getting worse. Huh? And in France, we published a green book, plus the programmer was a professional programmer from CNP, He did both a R package and actually did all the calculations in Python, so a Python package as well, and they're all on GitHub. You can download them if you want to do it for Korea. That saves you a lot of time. You still have to wait to download all the data. That's what takes time. Last that I've gotten involved with was the Italian one. Barbara decided to paint the seasons in different colors so you can distinguish when it's the worst. In yellow, it's the summer, and in orange, the fall, so you can see the peaks occur there. But you can see in Italy, a slightly different methodology because they don't use the C variable the same way we did in the other countries, but very comparable and same trends. Okay, so I don't have time anymore, but I was supposed to talk about applications of this. So yeah, there are other indexes that have been calculated that I wasn't involved with. In South Africa was the latest. Well, there are applications to this. Apart from providing a pedagogical tool that is objective, that is based only on observed data, and that's publicly available, it can also be used as a proxy. And it has been successfully in several projects. So I don't have much time to, but you can read it. In Spain, it has been used for losses that are covered by there's a consortium in Spain that was generated initially during the years of terrorism. So it covered all the losses due to bombings and so on. When that stopped, it got converted, and it covers natural catastrophes. And in particular, it covers losses for agriculture. So hailstorm was an example where some colleagues, they got data for all the losses for all of Spain on hailstorm for grapes grown to produce wine. And it turned out to be a significant proxy in the prediction of cost, and it helps you monetize. If there's an increase of 1 point of the index, how much do you expect the cost for that insurance cover to go up? There are people here in the audience that have worked on dependence analysis between the crop yields and the ACI. With this Turkish student that I mentioned, we did something similar. We actually looked in the US, they sell weather derivative products that are based on very simple indexes. For example, number of days you need to turn the heating on, or number of days you need to turn the air conditioning on. That are used by several industries, and the energy sector and others, among others, but also the weather derivative-based indexes, the weather-based derivative products. And I mentioned the techniques we use, but you can use the ACI to improve the pricing and the edging of those. That has already been published in Risks. This is the example I mentioned for grapes in Spain, and you can see the heterogeneity from one province to the other, and you can monetize how much the increase, 1 point increase in the index would produce in terms of the expected losses. Other applications are obviously in parametric insurance. That's very common in Asia, not so common in Europe, so I'm going to skip that. Not only the actual climate index is used as a proxy in insurance. In France, they have this problem with soils that are made of argile. So when they dry up, they crack. And when you build houses on soils like that, and the moisture of the soil goes down below a certain threshold, the houses, they crack. And insurers cover that risk. So they have long history of data for those losses. And these people, it's a team from Sorbonne. They published an analysis where they use soil wetness or soil dryness index, and how they can use it as a proxy to predict those costs. I'm going to go very quickly. Oh yeah, the project I've been working on in Spain was on excess mortality due to heat waves. We have a heat wave right now in Spain that has been going on for 3 weeks. There's air conditioning in Spain, but still there's excess deaths. You well know that most deaths occur in winter. That's universal. But there are deaths that occur in the summer that are related to physical conditions triggered by heat waves. This is a study by the Institute of Actuaries. So you can see the seasonality in the number of deaths. The peaks are in the winter. But those red bars are the excess deaths due to heat waves. So you can quantify this through indexes. Okay, so yeah. Just a very short survey of current research on the mortality topic and health and other applications. Just like to finish by saying that even though we didn't think at the beginning that this would be a off-the-shelf tool to use for insurance pricing or reserving, it has been done, and some companies have adopted it. In France, Covéa, which is their largest non-life insurance company, they've already adopted our French ACI, and they incorporated it to their natural catastrophe modeling. It's true in other countries. For example, there's a project right now in Morocco with, they only have one national reinsurer. It's called Atlantic Re, and they already adapted the ACI methodology, calculated a Moroccan index, and they've adapted it to their CatNat model as well. I'm working with other people on other topics, but I don't have time to cover it. So thank you very much for your attention, and I leave you with a long list of references.